And today I'm talking about police and security officers. Their main purpose is to protect and to serve. But who do they protect? Do they protect all people? Some people? Do they have the capability of protecting everybody? Well, we'll find out. How many times have you gone to the store, and as you're walking out of the store, they say, "Can I check your receipt?" What happens now if you can't hear them? Many times, even including my husband, he'll be passed down as they check his receipt to say, "Have a nice day," and they get really nasty at him because he didn't hear them say, "Have a nice day." So that's a very common thing. But it's okay. That's okay. But but checking people's receipts is only the start of problems with security officers that happen to be in the stores. These are all the stores where when you're exiting the store, they ask you for your receipt. I did a lot of research and asking people from security officers to actual police officers on the street, police in the stores and everything else. I asked them what their experience was with dealing with people who were deaf or hard of hearing. A security officer, James from Skechers, said that there was no training, but he would really love to know how to approach somebody like that, who's deaf or hard of hearing. Another security officer from Best Buy, he said his brother's deaf. But do you think that he even knows how to sign? No. He said he can learn how to speak by reading lips. But when I asked him, what happens when you have somebody that comes into the store and they're deaf? Well, how do you approach them? He goes, "I don't know." And his own brother's deaf. There was a female security officer I got to speak to from Daffy's. And she had the nerve to tell me, she really did, that if she had a problem with a deaf or hard of hearing person, she would talk to their aide.
Oh.
Then when I told her that they don't have aides, she said she'd find something in Braille to give them.
Oh, Lord.
I could not believe it. I said, "That's ridiculous. You gotta be kidding me." And then she said to me that it wasn't her job. It was the loss prevention, that it was their problem. So if a deaf person or hard of hearing person walked out, she didn't know, she wouldn't deal with it at all. But she said it would be nice to know what to do because she doesn't know what to do. Then we also had a mall security officer who's actually standing in the mall in Target. There's a lot of stores there. And he said that there is no training, but he would love to know what to do. Everybody agreed there needs to be some kind of training on how to approach deaf or hard of hearing civilians. I spoke to police officers, a narcotics police officer. I spoke to him, and he said the only training they have is if there is a problem with a person who stole, if they're suspected of stealing, they're to apprehend them the same way they would as a hearing person. They would handcuff them and then try to talk to the sergeant, who would get an interpreter to explain to them what was going on. So meanwhile, the person doesn't know why they're being handcuffed, but they'll be handcuffed first. That's what it is. An officer with the 108th Precinct, who I interviewed across the street, he said that he would call for another officer to see if somebody knows sign language. If not, he'd contact the sergeant, who would bring an interpreter in. Yeah. So now I have a couple of videos to show. The first video is on YouTube. This is the result of no communication. Oh, I have time. Sorry for the advertisement. That is not here. I warn you, it's not a very nice video. This is in Hollywood 21, and Hollywood, California, and the store is called Forever 21. Here you see two deaf people. The one is on the floor, and his brother is actually running around. That happens to be a security officer. They suspected that he shot them. They didn't know how to stop him. They put him in a chokehold, and at some point, if you look at his face, it's purple. They were choking him to death, literally. They did not know how to stop him. You hear everybody standing there watching, screaming, turning red. Stop, stop. They don't stop. This goes on for 5 minutes. According to KCLA, they said that these two brothers were deaf since they were born. It is clear that the security guard obviously did not know how to communicate with the deaf people and used excessive force to stop them. Do you know what the result of that was? They were not guilty. They had not done and shoplifted anything. They were later brought into the store, which was on the videotape with the police officers. The receipts were shown. It was compared to everything that they had on their bag. They were frisked and found to have nothing. Another video I have, and this is really serious. Hopefully it will. Oh, wait. Hey, no. Go to the other one. This one. No, it's not. It is the same. Should be one. Let me try to get it. In Seattle, Washington, this is an actual case. The man crossing the street is a Native American deaf man. He's whittling wood with a tiny pocket knife. I don't know if the sound is up. The sound is not up. But the police officer asked him.
Hey, put the knife down. Put the knife down. Put the knife down.
Shot him 4 times dead. When they picked him up afterwards, when they went by the body, they found that he was face down, had never turned around, was shot 4 times in his back, once in the head, 3 in the back. The knife was closed. It was a small pocket knife this big. It was closed.
Oh my God.
Yes. Okay. So we'll go back to the other video. This is a person's reaction to what it was, and he has something important to say. This is his reaction.
Seattle, Washington. A deaf man got shot and killed. Officer saw the deaf guy with a knife and in the wood. Officer called out to him and ordered him to drop his knife. He could not hear him. Called him out to drop his knife. 40 times. Didn't do it. Officer. Shot him. 4 times. He could not hear him. He's in my ear then. Now I can't hear nothing. What?
First, all deaf and hard of hearing people need to know their rights. They have a right to have their Mirandas told to them. They have that done in writing as well as interpretation. They have to have Miranda rights done in writing. It's very important. If you're deaf or hard of hearing and you are a suspect or under arrest, you have the right to be assisted by a qualified interpreter. My research found that the majority of times, deaf and hard of hearing people are not read their rights, they're taken into custody, and they are not provided an interpreter. Not. If you're a victim or a witness to a crime, you may choose a form of communication that you prefer, including a qualified interpreter within the limits of the time and their convenience, and that's applicable to the situation. How do we prevent this? The city of Rochester has the largest deaf community and hard of hearing community in all of the United States. And they have a video, which I'm not going to show because of time, that shows what can be done. They do have an ID card that has, the ID card they keep over their visor. They take it out when they're pulled over. They show it to the officer, and the officer will point out on the back of the card what information he wants. On the front of the card, it shows that that person is deaf or hard of hearing and their ways of communication. How do we prevent this? Police and security need to be trained all over the United States in approaching deaf and hard of hearing citizens. Security should be trained with simple signs such as come here. If they think something's wrong, they can tap the person, come here, if they're not responding to their voice. Information cards could be made and placed by the door in an envelope with simple instructions such as a picture of the receipt to say, I need your receipt. Do you need an interpreter? Do you need help? Police, ambulance with pictures so the person can respond yes or no. In conclusion, we have seen extreme cases of deaf citizens and how they've been treated. This is not this is not a once in a lifetime thing. This is something that occurs all the time. My research showed that the police and security do want training. They are all wanting the training. They're open to it, but it's not being provided. We need to find a way that they can be provided this training. We see that there is no real training for them, and that needs to change. How can we prevent the communication barriers? We have signs. We need more people involved with training and a training program like they have up in Rochester. We need to also remember that we're all human and we need to be treated that way.